In a small bustling village called Umeba, the market women were preparing for their weekly journey to Onitsha to restock their goods. This trip was crucial for their trade, as Onitsha was a hub for affordable, high-quality food items. The group was led by Mama Ezin, a woman known for her sharp business sense and unshakable faith. Among them was Nkem, the youngest of the group, who sold plantains to support her aging parents. Others included Mama Ngozi, a widow with 6 children, and Edeora, a lively woman with a loud laugh that could brighten any room. The day before the journey, Mama Ezin called the women together to finalize their plans. As they sat under a large mango tree, preparing their baskets and discussing their budgets, one of the women, Chioma, spoke up. "I have a strange feeling about this trip," Chioma said, her voice hesitant. The others paused, turning to look at her. "What do you mean?" asked Mama Ngozi. "I had a dream last night," Chioma continued. "In the dream, we were traveling, but the road was full of darkness, and the bus we were in couldn't move forward. Something doesn't feel right. I think we should postpone the trip and pray." The women exchanged glances. Edeora waved her hand dismissively. "Chioma, you and your dreams. Do you know how much we stand to lose if we don't go tomorrow? The market will be packed with buyers, and delaying means we'll miss the best deals." "Yes," Mama Ngozi added. "Besides, we've been making this trip for years. What could go wrong?" Mama Ezin, though slightly uneasy, agreed with the majority. "Chioma, we'll pray before we leave, but the trip must go on. We can't afford to wait." The next morning, the women gathered at the motor park before sunrise. The driver, a young man named Emeka, assured them his bus was in good condition. But Chioma couldn't shake her unease. "God, protect us," she muttered as she climbed into the bus. The journey started smoothly, with the women laughing and sharing stories. As they neared the halfway point, dark clouds gathered, and rain began to pour heavily. The already poor roads became slippery, and visibility worsened. Suddenly, the bus hit a large pothole, causing it to swerve dangerously. "Driver, be careful," Mama Ezin shouted. "I'm trying, Mama," Emeka replied, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. Moments later, the unthinkable happened. A speeding trailer, unable to stop on the wet road, appeared from the opposite direction. Emeka tried to swerve, but the bus skidded and collided with the trailer. The impact was catastrophic. The bus flipped over, landing in a ditch. Goods spilled everywhere, baskets of tomatoes, bags of rice, and bundles of plantains lay scattered across the muddy road. Screams and groans filled the air as the women struggled to free themselves from the wreckage. Chioma, though injured, crawled out and began pulling others to safety. She found Mama Ngozi unconscious but breathing. Nkem, pinned under a seat, cried out in pain. Tragically, Edeora, whose laughter had once filled their journeys, didn't survive. Villagers and passers-by rushed to the scene, helping to transport the injured to a nearby hospital. The aftermath was devastating. The women who survived were left with injuries, emotional scars, and the loss of their friend. At Adeora's funeral, Chioma stood before the gathered crowd, her voice heavy with emotion. "I begged us to postpone that trip. I felt it in my spirit, but we didn't listen. This is why we must always pray and heed warnings, even if they don't make sense at the time. Life is too fragile to take chances." The tragedy became a turning point for the village. The women began organizing prayer sessions before every trip, committing their journeys to God. They also advocated for better road conditions and stricter safety checks for vehicles. Chioma's words resonated deeply. "Prayer may not prevent every accident," she often said, "but it prepares us, guides us, and sometimes warns us. Let's never take any journey for granted." Over time, the women recovered and resumed their trade, but they never forgot the lessons from that fateful journey. Adora's memory became a symbol of why faith and caution must go hand in hand. From then on, every trip began with prayer, ensuring they traveled not just with their goods, but with the protection of a higher power. Moral of the story. This story highlights the importance of being spiritually vigilant and cautious before embarking on any journey. It reminds us to pay attention to warnings, whether they come from dreams, intuition, or others, and to always commit our plans to prayer for guidance and protection. In the weeks that followed the accident, the entire village of Umyoba mourned deeply. Adora's absence left a void that was impossible to fill. Her vibrant laughter, her witty jokes, and her boundless energy were now cherished memories. Her husband and children struggled to come to terms with their loss, and the market women felt a heavy guilt for dismissing Chioma's warning. Mama Ezin, who had always been the group's leader, found herself grappling with a mix of sorrow and regret. One day, she called a meeting under the same mango tree where they had planned the ill-fated journey. This time, the mood was somber. "We've all learned a hard lesson," Mama Ezin began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We've always trusted our instincts as businesswomen, but we forgot to listen to the voice of caution when it mattered most. From now on, we will never ignore the signs God gives us." The women nodded, some wiping away tears. Chioma, who had barely spoken since the accident, finally found the courage to speak. "I wasn't trying to stop us from earning a living," she said softly. "I just felt in my spirit that something wasn't right." Sometimes, God sends us warnings through dreams, feelings, or people. It's up to us to listen. Her words sparked a change in the community. The market women decided that before every journey, they would gather to pray and seek divine guidance. It became a new tradition, one that brought a sense of unity and peace among them. The tragedy also spurred the village leaders into action. They petitioned the local government to repair the dangerous roads that had contributed to the accident. After months of advocacy, construction crews finally arrived to fill the potholes and improve the road's drainage system. In addition, the motor park operators introduced stricter vehicle inspections. Drivers like Emeka, who had previously taken shortcuts to save cost, were now required to ensure their vehicles were roadworthy before carrying passengers. For the women of Umyoba, the journey to Onitsha would never be the same again. Each trip began with a heartfelt prayer, led by Chioma or Mama Ezin, asking for protection, wisdom, and safe travels. They also learned to plan more carefully, sometimes postponing trips if the weather seemed unfavorable or if any of them felt uneasy. The story of their accident became a cautionary tale that spread far beyond their village. Other market women in neighboring towns adopted similar practices, starting their journeys with prayer and ensuring their safety before venturing out.